everyone, it's Lucy from My Crazy Craft Life, and today I'm here with a design team post for Dies R Us. Today is my last post for Dies R Us. Our term is over and I am sad to leave, but on the other hand I am very much looking forward to moving on to other things. I appreciate all of your support, and we will get into this crafty card that I made. So I used quite a few dies. I used Yvonne Creations Christmas Door. I used the Picket Cottage Fence from Poppy Stamps, and I used a Paper Smooches Merry Christmas die. I also used an embossing folder from Paper Studio to create kind of this brick background. And I think if I did this again, I would probably go with a gray for the background because it ended up being so close to the color I used for the light kind of illuminating from the window of the door that I kind of didn't see that. But what I did right there, so the door opens up and it's really, really cute, but I did just use an embossing tool to kind of make that line to open a little bit more pronounced. Then I'm taking a brad, and I used a hole punch, and I punched a hole in there, and I'm going to stick this brad in there so that it looks like it's the door handle. I'm going to adhere that down onto the layering panel. Now this is an A2 size card, so it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches total. I'm using a red card base from my stash, and then like I said, I'm using a white piece of cardstock that I embossed with an embossing folder and then used some Distress Oxide to give it some color. And then I'm kind of making sure that that is centered, that door. Now the one thing you do want to be careful of when you're putting this down is that you're not going to get adhesive on the door itself. I then cut out a piece that was going to fit inside of the door, and that's where I'm going to stamp one of the sentiments. So here is the fence die that I'm going to use, and I ended up being able just to cut it in half, and it fit perfectly onto the door. Or onto the card next to the door within that 4 inches, so it was kind of a perfect fit for that. Now one of the other things I did was I cut out the potted plants out of some pattern paper, and then I cut kind of half of it out again just to get the pot and cut a little bit off of that, and then I'm just going to adhere the bottom that I did in brown to the bottom of the actual whole plant with the pot that was done in the pattern paper. So there I cut out some pale yellow. It was from all of these papers are from my stash, my scraps that I have, so I really could not tell you much about any of them other than the colors they were. But a pale yellow I cut out just for the window, so it kind of looked like the light was coming out of the door. And then, like I said, that was where I put the potted plants together, and I'm just going to adhere them both next to the door. And I just took some olive green ink from an ink cube that I had sitting on my desk just to give it a little bit more dimension on those potted plants. I cut quite a few of the little bows out because I'm going to add those to the plants. I'm going to add it to the wreath as well as the mistletoe that's going to go at the top of the door. And all these little pieces outside of the fence were all part of this collection. And like I said, I think this is a really well-priced die for everything that you can do with it. And because it's separated like that, you don't have to use it for the holidays. You can use it for any time and put all sorts of, I think it would be a great die for a house welcoming, or a new house, that type of thing. I ended up not using those sprigs that were part of it. I kind of went back and forth and just decided against it. I'm just, like I said, going to add those bows to the different areas. And then the Merry Christmas I cut out 3 times from some green cardstock, and then I'm going to adhere them together with some liquid glue so that it gives it a little bit more sturdiness and dimension. And that piece that I'm going to put in the center of the door, I really just took my brush and the ink that was left on the brush in green. That's what I'm putting on the door. And then I am going to stamp it with the sentiment that I used. And I think this is just a super cute idea to be able to have any type of sentiment that you want on the inside of that door. And then you can also have a sentiment on the inside of the card, like I did, that you will see in a moment. Now these sentiments are from Stamp Pendus, and it's a Christmas stamp set. It's a really old Christmas stamp set, but it's one of my favorites for the sentiment quotes and stuff that they have on there. Then I'm just going to adhere that piece in the center there of the door. And I'm not too worried that the door doesn't stick completely closed right at this moment, because once it goes into the envelope and is sent somewhere, it will get smushed enough that it'll stay closed by itself. So I'm not really too worried about that. Plus it just opens up a little bit. So also that way it kind of lets them know that, hey, you need to look inside of here. So once I get through putting those together, I am going to add it onto the card. Now this is a Paper Smooches die, and they no longer have that die at the store, but I had linked one in the blog from an Impression Obsession die that would work perfect with this. It's a good size for what you need for this, and like I said, it'll work perfect, and it's actually very similar in look to how this one looks. I was using VersaFine ink to stamp my sentiments. I cut out all of these obviously before I started recording this, so that you didn't have to sit there while I went back and forth doing all of that. And then once I pop this down, I'm going to pop that panel onto my card base. And I used, like I said, a red card base, and I just thought that all worked out really well with the little bows and those pops of red, the green inside the door. I think this is a super cute die, and like I said, it's very reasonable priced. And then I'm going to pop that sentiment on in there. And I love this sentiment. Like I said, this is actually one of my favorite stamp sets, the Stamp Pendus Christmas one. It says the most wonderful time of the year, which the holidays are, for many of us, the most wonderful time of the year. So that is pretty much it. I want to thank everybody for joining me. I want to thank you again for all of the support you've shown me throughout my time here at Dies R Us, and I will catch you later. Everybody stay happy, stay healthy, keep crafting, and I will see you next time. Talk to you later. Take care.